Okay, hello and welcome to the second part of where do I start as an affiliate marketer or in general in digital marketing. So, in the first part, we talked about finding, and using that unfair advantage. We also talked about creating that right mindset that would help you push forward. And in this video, we're gonna jump into more actionable stuff and really dig into what you want to do in order to start, regardless of whether you're inside the industry or you're outside of the industry. So the first part, I usually, in terms of actions, yeah, after creating that right mindset and stuff, the first part I usually tell people that they should do is create a very specific list of sources that they're going to approach. And this list needs to be as long and as extensive as possible, because this is going to be your go-to place throughout your learning journey. Okay, so this is going to be the place that you keep coming back to when you lose motivation, when something didn't work, because lots of stuff aren't going to work, or at least they're not gonna meet your expectations. You're gonna think that this course is gonna get you to make a certain amount of money in a week or in a day, and it's not, and then you're gonna come back. The reason why I want this list to be as long as possible is that it's going to be extremely hard to trust and build that list, and also trust different sources, if you do not if you lose motivation. So you try one thing and then you're gonna come back to that list and it's already gonna be full. So if you make it too short, you're going to come up empty at a certain point in time. So just make sure that you use that initial motivation to really do the stuff that's harder to do without motivation. So um, I don't know what's gonna work for you. Some people like reading, some people like audiobooks, some people like texting and are better at networking, some people are better at face to face kind of thing. It's really up to you, and you need to know, again, going back to that unfair advantage thing. But I suggest building that list with just like different categories. So the first one would be just like all-in-one courses. The second one could be generic courses, which would be stuff that would help you get, the most of like how the industry works and stuff like that, but doesn't necessarily have to do with digital marketing, stuff like personal development, negotiation, books about networking, stuff that's going to help you in general, but doesn't have to do specifically with this industry. And by the way, these kinds of stuff is where you can't lose, because you're gonna use that negotiation skill. You're gonna use that negotiation skill even if you do not find yourself plugging into the industry in some sort of way. And then you have the more specific stuff. For example, a media buying course, media buying on Google, media buying on Facebook, stuff like that. Then you have specific, for example, copywriting courses. So you can find them on Google. You can find them inside Facebook groups. Some of the Facebook groups are more private or exclusive and they cost money. You also have some forums like STM, which is now Affiliate World Forum. You have video libraries on Facebook groups like AdLeaks and stuff like that. Again, some of them are paid, some of them are public. You have lots of information on YouTube as well if you know how to filter it out. So the only thing is, like, when you are researching places to learn from, you need to make sure that you have one an updated list of categories like the one I just provided you with, and second, you want to make sure that this category or this specific way of learning really fits you in terms of um, what you're used to or what you know that's effective for you. Um, I also suggest always starting some with a combination. One is going to be like a personal development thing that just like evolves you as a businessman, evolves you, it makes you more smart in terms of being an entrepreneur. And the other thing would be taking an all-in-one course, something that really talks about the terminology, talks about generic tools like Google Analytics and how to build funnels and stuff that's not, the essential stuff. So it doesn't really matter what you're gonna do, you're going to be using that information. So it's really starting from like a broad type of thing. So these types of courses are really good because they're gonna help you with two main things. The first thing would be finding out if you even want to get inside this industry deeper. You know, some people, they hear the terminology and they decide that they do not want to do anything else inside this industry. The other thing, which is very nice, you're going to better understand, or it's at the very least going to advance you in a way where you understand where you want to be inside this industry. You know, do you want to work for someone? Do you need a team? Are you going to be like a solo affiliate? Are you going to be a copywriter? Do you want to build funnels? Do you want to optimize and just optimize, you know, different products, different funnels and stuff like that? So these types of courses really help you feel like, you know, what type of like angle inside the industry you're more attracted towards. Um, and also going back to one of the first chapters in the book, this is one of the ways of becoming a full stack marketer at the end of the day. You wanna touch as many points as you can, so at the very least you know how to communicate with people that work with you and stuff like that. So just like, you know, don't forget, you know, lots of people that I talk to, they wanna start by being the CEO. They're in love with telling their friends or girls that they date that they're like an entrepreneur and stuff. The most successful people that I know inside this industry and also in general started with being, you know, at the bottom. They started with being copywriters. They started with working at the call center. And I'm not saying that being in a call center or being a copywriter is the bottom, but they started from working for someone at a very low pay grade, and then they climbed. You know, some of the most successful people I know, they're very good salesperson people, and they know how to call up any lead. And some of them are copywriters. I'm not judging anyone. I'm just saying. Uh, so that kind of like helps you also minimize the risk, because you're going to be able to really not make a decision till you have to make a decision. So that's pretty good. Another tip that I usually give anyone that really wants to start inside this industry would be not spending any money on anything unless you've totally used all of the free resources that are out there, all of the forums, all of the Facebook groups that are free, all of the YouTube channels. Learn as much as possible, first of all, for free, and then commit yourself to something that costs money only after you've done the due diligence. You want to know that that person is really into what they're saying, and also that they've done what they said. You know, lots of people, they want to get lots of subscribers, they have a course, they have these kinds of stuff. You really want to differentiate, and we're going to talk about it. I have a whole chapter about fake or real gurus. Next up, you're going to move into action. So at this point, all of the research you've done or plan to do, you really need to get a feel of what to do inside the digital marketing industry, and essentially. So you want to have that initial roadmap that's based on the resources that, and also the unfair advantages that you got to know yourself, you know, the personal traits and stuff like that. So you want to make sure that you have that roadmap inside or in front of you. And you want to also, again, going back to that mindset thing, um, you want to know that this is going to be a very hard ride. Starting with anything feels like a complete void. It feels like everything is completely dark. And you know that you need to know that this is going to be overwhelming at some point. It's going to be, and feels, you're going to feel super anxious. Um, you know, just know that. But making sure that you push yourself to really take the action and move from the learning phase and taking these courses or consultation calls or whatever and into action is necessary. This is necessary. You're gonna have to do it. You know, everyone that sits and watches the game doesn't play the game. You are basically prey. You know, you're not gonna become a predator. you're going to be chased by a predator and probably get eaten by one. So and I'm saying this because it hurts me so much. People get stuck learning. They go back to school, they go back and do another BA degree or something, or they get stuck with learning through YouTube and stuff like that. Sometimes even for years, and I really don't recommend that approach. I think that there is a certain point in time where theory is nice and you've learned whatever you could, and now you have to really step out of your comfort zone and push yourselves into action. So the second thing that really worked for me was conferences. Okay, so and this again goes back to the dynamics of what fits you. There are smaller events and there are bigger events. Some people are afraid of going to an event feeling that they don't know what's going on. They don't know how to really approach it. They are afraid that people might judge them, or they're afraid that people might say or recognize that they are not from the industry, or they don't know the terminology. Maybe they're gonna get stuck inside the conversation, and that's okay, but you need to know how good of like a person you are in terms of being in networking. So if you already have experience with networking and you feel like you're a networking machine or something like that, go to the bigger conferences and really dig deeper. Sometimes, by the way, the smaller conferences are much harder because it's harder for you to escape and it's harder for you to blend in, and everyone kind of like knows each other pretty fast. And I always compare the bigger conferences to the Olympics because it takes more than networking skills. It also takes time management skills, and really having not just like the patience, but also um, just having a very just the same thing that you need for a very strict diet. So you want to make sure that you have a very stiff system of rules to follow, where it doesn't really allow you to, because it's very hard to get sucked into the nightlife. It's very easy to get into the fun part of it and lose yourself. So you really have to be very into very goal oriented, and really have almost like a tunnel vision in terms of what your goal is from that conference. So the first response I usually get when I suggest going to an event, conference, or mastermind would be that one, a person either doesn't know anyone, or two, they're usually afraid, or three, they won't have anything to talk about or anyone to talk about, and really they're super anxious about going inside, and they're afraid to get basically kicked out of the industry and stuff, inside inside their head. So, and I talk about this later in the book, and if you want, you can grab a copy. It's on Amazon. I have a link in probably in the comment section here, but this is this is one of the biggest things you're going to have to overcome when you go to a conference. When someone approaches me with these types of like challenges, or just like rejections, let's say, I would usually say that yes, you are correct. Everything you fear of is real. It's not stuff that's inside your head, but it's basically going to stay that way until you really activate your inner wolf and take the fearless route. And what I usually do in order to escape fear is I turn what I fear of into basically the opposite. So, meaning, for example, just like I told you in the last episode, if I'm afraid of not having the time to spend with my kids if I take on another job or I change my job, then I get scared even more of not doing it, because if I don't do it, then I would have to work the 9 to 5 and not be with my kids. If I'm afraid that I won't have the money to travel the world, or to buy my dream car, or to go on everything that I need or want in life, then I flip that and I tell myself, okay, if I don't do that, then I'm definitely not gonna have, like, this is the guaranteed way of not having money, for example. So again, I don't think that every event is meant for everyone. A lot of people that I know make money and thrive without attending any events, but I do think that my personal and lots of other people that I know experience from these events is that they accelerate your path. Your journey is gonna be much faster. You know, the times that I've sat down next to someone and that single networking session, that sometimes it's like a 10-minute session, and he threw a few ideas to the air that really changed my whole business approach, and they really made me so much money. So I think that's a big thing. I also talk about the book where there was a certain point in time where my business was really going nowhere and I didn't really have any opportunities, any campaigns, or anything like that. And I knew that there was a conference in Vegas in January. I think it was Affiliate Summit West, and I found a friend that was running a SaaS operation. He had like a product, and he was inside the same space. He was going to that conference, and I was really, really trying hard not to let that inner voice that was telling me, "Don't go to that event." Uh, you know, you have a nice house, you have lots of other reasons. You know, I think I told myself that I need to keep an eye on my dog, and why would I go, and it's such a long way, and I'm traveling by my own. I had no one to go to, and I knew the terminology, I knew lots of stuff, but I wanted someone to hang around with because I didn't want to be completely alone. And he was going, basically took on a few women to help give out flyers and stuff, and I was like, dude, you know what, I want to hang out with you. I'm going to help you do that just so I'll have that group, you know. And it turned out to be one of the best trips of my life because inside the plane, I found out someone who became my best friend for a few years and a partner, and we got to travel the world. We made lots of money. But I remember how hard it was for me to overcome that initial fear. And I also think that even now when I book a conference or some sort of like event, it's very hard for me to click on that buy button where it's like, you know, I get the plane tickets, I get the hotels and stuff, and it's very hard for me to make that move. So I bet that for someone who's not inside the industry, it's gonna be like 10 times harder. So just make sure that you really push yourself. And I think this story is amazing because it reveals a lot. You know, I'm not saying that every time that you're gonna push yourself, you're gonna find that amazing partner or make money from the relationships. It does take a lot of luck, but at the end of the day, you increase your chances of being lucky by pushing yourself into that situation. Okay, and I think the story reveals a lot. So the first thing uh, is basically that you need to make big moves and decisions. You don't know where your next business opportunity or business partner is going to come from. You need to reach out, you need to explore the chances, you need to push yourself into that. I think the other thing that's really interesting in that story is that your brain is really good at keeping things as they are. Your brain is not really programmed in order to make you thrive. It's primitively wired to make you survive, basically, which is the opposite of thriving because um, it's gonna, you know, go. It's gonna basically limit your opportunities, and I think that you need to remember that every time you begin something, every time that you begin just like open up a new door, a new industry, especially if it's something big, um, you're going to experience sadness, loss, negative interactions, and stuff like that. And I'm going to talk about how to cope with that later inside the book. But you're going to have to push through the tendency toward stagnation, basically. That's your brain's job to make more excuses and reasons on why you shouldn't push your boundaries. And it's just that powerful inner drive you have inside of you that would ultimately overcome, hopefully. The last thing I talk inside the book regarding that story is that there's always another move to be made. You know, even when you think you made all the move, and the next one might feel extreme, you know, there is always another move, another partnership, another opportunity, another business. Um, this is true even when you feel like you've lost or made the wrong move and completely destroyed whatever chances you have. Um, if you even if you look at your life right now in hindsight, even the bad decisions, at least that's the case for me, turned out to be very good at the end of the day. So this is like, again, writing this inside the book made me feel like I'm almost writing um, something of like a religious person would write, because really implementing this inside my mindset and day-to-day life really changed lots of actions and results, of course for the better. And by the way, in and out of business. So, and that's my dog, by the way. But honestly, I can't remember any situation that felt terrible at the time. Um, and when I look back in hindsight now, it was probably either good or was completely natural and didn't change anything. And usually, these things really helped me at the end of the day. Okay, so that's a big thing that I want you to remember. Now, I don't want you to get me wrong. You know, the fact that I had an amazing experience when it comes to my decision to go to Vegas doesn't mean that you're gonna have an amazing experience. Sometimes that's gonna feel completely miserable. Sometimes you're not gonna meet that partner. Sometimes you're gonna spend money and not get anything. And that's something that you have to remember. If you do read this book throughout, you know, everything that I've written there, this is meant to really be used as your shortcut, and this would likely help you get your chances up of creating a very good deal or good relationship or someone to learn from at the very least. But that doesn't mean that it's going to be, you know, I could have ended up with nothing, you know. So here is another story that I share inside the book. So I knew a guy that went to school with me, and we did our first bachelor's degree in Israel together. He was never a first fast learner or someone you could call a smart guy. And we finished, you know, going to school, and the guy wasn't working for like the first 5 years after we graduated. And I remember talking to him, and he gave me the feeling that he didn't want to work a junior job, or that he felt like a junior job was beneath him, didn't really fit him. So he refused to compromise or take the chance on anything else. And of course, this made me laugh inside myself, because it showed the big ass gap between how he believes things should work and how the world in reality actually works. Um, I mean, he had lots of self confidence, which was obviously good. He felt like he was worth a lot more. But sometimes people are really missing, you know, that gap, that connection to reality. Um, and basically, every time he got inside a job, they either offered him a smaller amount of money than he anticipated, or a very junior job because he didn't work for lots of years. And basically, he rejected, or they rejected him. So his perception of reality was what made it real at the end of the day. You know, it didn't really matter for him if he was right or not. Um, and he wasn't landing a job. The fact that he wasn't landing a job really didn't feel like he lost a position for himself. You know, he never felt that he was losing anything out of that transaction. He felt like that workplace lost him, and that mindset was really rooted more into arrogance, sorry, than accepting that he might need to take a smaller step, first of all, in order to make it in the long run. So I meet people who really give me a sense that they think they are too big to start unless they begin, you know, as the CEO of Apple or something like that. And of course, I'm exaggerating here, but I'm getting at these basic things. Okay, three things. One, if you can't get a seat at the table, serve water, at least at the beginning. If you can't get a company to hire you, hand out flyers at an event. Almost no one starts from the top. It's not gonna happen. So really, welcome to reality, guys. The second thing is that you're going to learn how to be an apex predator. You're not entitled to be one the second the venture, you venture into the wild, meaning you're going to start a business, you're going to start inside the industry, you're not going to be an apex predator, you're probably not going to be a predator at all. um, and this is how things work, especially at a very competitive, smart industry. And three, which is the biggest thing, this is the biggest lesson from all of this, is that nothing beats action. Whether you take a small or large steps, nothing compares to staying in motion. The best things to do when you have a dry season, when you're looking for yourself, is take any action, even if you think that that action is not gonna move you forward. Even if you're not sure that this action is the best for you, you wanna take any sort of action, because motion creates a flow. Even if you're gonna change something, action is stronger than anything.